Hello and welcome to the Midweek conversation of First Baptist Sweetwater, where we strive to be the first responders of God's love. My name is Jerry Hendricks. I'm here with T. Hamilton, and we're here to kind of fill the gap for our conversation this week.
And for me, there weren't any gaps.
Explain that.
I got to listen online. One of my first times to get to view online.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Right.
Awesome. That's right. You were
that's
out Sunday and you got to take a day out of the normal routine and go watch a baseball game.
Yep. Went to watch the Rangers play. It was supposed to be their closing day, but then the strike happened, and so it's now just a ball game that they lost.
Okay. Well, thinking of ball games and team sports, I've been asking a question lately.
Yes, you have.
About what is the ultimate team sport.
Right.
Apparently, what people are hearing is, what is your favorite team sport?
Yeah, no.
They're not thinking about this question very well, and kind of throws everything off.
Yeah, but you explained it well Sunday morning, so if they're here, they understood it a little better.
No, they didn't.
Oh, no, they're still saying it?
So I use it again.
Please tell me someone didn't say, like, football.
No.
Okay, good. Because if you say football, there's 22 people on a team that play at some point, and that doesn't include special teams.
No, when I first heard that story about this lady that had started playing soccer with these guys and developed a select team, or whatever they called it, a club team. Mm-hmm. And then as she got to know them, she knew that they weren't doing well in school, but she used the idea or the concept of the framework of teamwork that you experience in soccer in the establishment of her school. Mm-hmm. And so it was, I reused, when I heard that story, I knew that it fit well with the two parts that I was doing in 1 Corinthians 12. And so I used a portion of that again. I brought it up to a little bit different part of the story. And
I like the name that she came up with. Was it Fuji Family?
Fuji Family. I keep getting it. I don't know. It's a tongue twister for me.
It is, but the idea of family, that was cool.
Yeah, and she's done a TED Talk, and then on this and how this started, as well as she's done some podcasts and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure exactly how they do fundraising, but it is a very interesting idea of because the game of soccer is actually a part of the admissions process.
Really?
Yeah. They.
Huh. I would not get admitted.
Well, so the team framework penetrates every part of their DNA.
Right.
And so the way they establish the acceptance is you apply, and then they have 3 days of tryouts, soccer. And so when they tried to get accredited, the accreditation group said that you can't do that, but she said it's not for making the team. And so the first day is conditioning. They want to see who's willing to kind of go beyond being comfortable. The second day is skills. I want to see how students respond to teaching and coaching. Mm-hmm. And then the third day is competition. They want to see how they compete with one another, because again, the soccer uniqueness to soccer is as the coach doesn't really get to interfere with the game once the game started. There's no timeouts or anything like that. Then they test the students, and those with the lowest test scores get admitted.
Wow.
Really well thought out.
Yeah.
And, obviously a very unique approach, and I think it's safe to say that concept is not for everyone, but I do like...
But they've started 2 schools, so it's working.
Right, and it is reaching and working with a niche, and, I think it's... One of the difficulties probably in school reform is we're trying to reform with just one model and make that model work everywhere. Right. So having different models in these charter schools or whatever, I think is real helpful to kids, because they can find a way that they're able to learn better. Yeah. But got into the second part, which Paul talks about being one. So the theme of unity that Paul uses a lot is brought up in there, and then he brings in unity and diversity. And so pretty interesting way to think about the church, not just in terms of our giftedness, but obviously the giftedness was a part of it. Trying to avoid getting into desiring what we might think are greater gifts.
Right. And I thought you did good with bringing in other metaphors that we might understand from a team to a symphony. That I wish there was symphony around back then. It would have fit really well. Like, it makes perfect sense.
One of the commentators I read used a symphony, the illustration of a symphony, and they suggested, and I knew I was in unknown territory, talking to some people who were experts, like on row 1 and 2, Jenny Doggett and Matthew Godino, but. They was talking about how and I didn't say, I mentioned this, but I didn't make a big deal about it, but that in the context of symphony, there's a bit of a unspoken hierarchy in terms of instruments.
You did mention that. You said there's some that are greater. So I was going to ask, which
strings.
They think that's the important ones?
Yeah. And of course, this guy's making an assumption and stereotyping and generalizing and all those things on the thought process of people who play in symphony. But imagine a symphony without strings.
I can.
Yeah.
It's called a marching band.
It's become something else altogether.
Yeah. But now in marching bands, they're bringing out all these electronics. You remember the good old days when a marching band marched? Now they've got keyboards and stuff like that plugged in. I'm just going... I miss the good old days.
Well, but the symphony was a good illustration. I felt like that.
Yeah.
That I borrowed and used in that setting, and it kind of brought up some of my own experience with music.
Yep.
Which is very limited. What did you play in the band?
I played trumpet.
Oh yeah, you were one of the cool horns.
Yeah. When you said drums at first, I shook my head because we're driving and I'm listening to it. I just shook my head. And Stacy kind of laughed because, she picked up the drums much later in life. But my brother was a drummer, and, we always made fun of saying we had to put him out in the barn so he could whack, 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 whack. But it was rough. And then there was trumpet. That's what you want to be. The trumpet is always the loudest, and they think they need to be heard.
Yeah.
But they probably don't need to be heard as loud as I think they do. So that was definitely me. But yeah, my dad played the trumpet, and so I actually played his trumpet that he bought as a boy. And so, yeah.
Well, and I can still recall, once I thought of that experience, I can still recall the trombone to me was intimidating because of the slide.
Right. Because there's no stop. You got to guess where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I was thinking about that. I go, how in the world do you ever develop the expertise in that where it's always the same? It's always in concert with the other trombones. And I go, I sort of understand, what would you call it, intuition? I don't know if it's muscle memory, I guess, from how far out you go for each one of them.
But I thought of other experiences I have that you learn something through repetition, and that you don't need all the gauges and everything, all the rules that you started with, because you start to understand something. But
Robert Aker is our resident trombonist, if that's what it's called.
Is that right?
He played trombone.
He did not mention that yesterday.
He played trombone in high school, and he even played in the church orchestra for a little bit.
I interacted with the crowd a little bit Sunday.
You did?
I don't normally do that.
You did?
On the, what's the little recorder thing called? What did
they call it? A flutophone?
That's hilarious.
I'd always called it a recorder. Did you hold it like this or to the side?
You held it like
I feel like
clarinet.
A recorder is like a clarinet. I feel like that's a recorder. I've never heard of a flutophone.
So I was going to ask ahead of time, and then I thought, no, I was trying to set myself up a little bit. So that part of the interaction was intentional. But
maybe for your next church anniversary, we'll have the kids play the recorders for you.
Don't mention that to Jenny.
We'll see if they watch it all.
I'm gonna have to start watching, going into the choir room.
See if there's any recorders.
Yeah, make sure that they're not doing that.
Or flutophones.
Yeah.
I'm Googling that when we get done. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Jenny, I hope you're right. Because flutophone sounds so much better than a recorder. Well, we called it a flute. I do remember that. I thought we did.
Yeah. We never used them. I think
anyway,
Roscoe does that, and I think it's a great idea.
But think about my contextual learning here. You're playing an instrument that has holes in it.
Right.
Like maybe a clarinet, well, similar, but
clarinet,
there are
saxophone,
holes, yeah. And then they give you a trombone.
Yeah.
Not a good association.
Yeah, it has a spit valve.
Yeah. I don't want to know that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's a dramatic difference in those two.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do band.
No.
I think the reason that the drums were appealing was because my folks had talked about getting me a drum set. And so, just probably another one of those things a kid wants that they're not going to use. But, that never happened. So
I got my niece a drum set several years ago.
Did you really?
She's turning 6 in October, but I got her about 2 years ago and anonymously mailed it to her house in her name. And this might be the first time that her parents would possibly know that it really actually did come. They suspected, but it was anonymous. Just got mailed to her in her name, and they let her open it, and there's a drum set. And so, yeah, I never admitted it until now. And if they don't watch podcasts or watch the live stream, they won't know, but that's all right.
Wow.
Every kid needs a drum set.
Is there anything else you need to get off your chest, T?
Man, on Amazon, those are less than $30. I'm just helping people out.
Now that we've opened up some authenticity here, anything else you want to share?
No, that's just anybody else who wants to. $30 on Amazon, they'll anonymous ship. If you have someone you want to bless with that.
I'm not sure that's good for our podcast, though.
No, I bet it drives the numbers up.
You think so?
I really feel like we should have had a deal where if they purchase a certain one, we would get profits from it, but I didn't do that.
Well,
Man. So, yeah.
Maybe we can do some editing and set that up.
My brother did the drums. He loved it.
Yeah.
But I didn't. You said you did sports in your school. It was a small school. You did every sport. I did band, so I wouldn't have to do sports.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just the other way around.
By the time I was a senior, I didn't play any sports.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I was, was in student council and things like that, but
I came back strong.
They did try to recruit me to the band again.
Oh, really? Nice.
After I basically
trombone again?
No, tuba.
Tuba.
Yeah.
I like tuba.
There's no way I was going to do that one. Not my last year.
Not as senior.
And you're going, no. Because I did play the piano some. I sort of understand musical notes, but no, I wasn't doing that.
Man.
So, yeah. Anyways, crazy times. But but we're talking about gifts, and
right.
It was good to think about how all the gifts fit together. I think, when you look at the health of a church, there's a church where people are involved in sharing their life, their skills, their gifts, and they vary, and we got to be open to the way that those things work. So next Sunday we take another step into gifting and understanding gifts and how we become generous people through gifting, and so that's one that I enjoy getting to talk about and try to be creative with. So we'll look forward to that this coming Sunday.
Good.
And things around the corner for us are first See at the Pole this week?
Yeah, Wednesday it'll have already happened by the time this drops, but See at the Pole, and then Sunday we have our invite event for youth. It's roller skating in Abilene. Didn't know there were still roller skating places, but there are.
That one's it is hung in there, I guess.
Yeah.
So then Fields of Faith in October, right?
Yep, October 12th. Here at the Mustang Bowl.
Okay, so things are moving right along into the semester. Today, guess what?
What?
I ordered us something from Amazon.
I do know that.
And I know that you love getting packages.
Yes.
I ordered us a couple of books on what is it? Meditations for Advent. What's the name of the book?
I don't know.
I can't remember the name of the book. But
we just found it today, or you found it.
I heard about it on a podcast that you and I listened to. Brian's on. And he mentioned it and checked it on Amazon. It's due out this week.
Yeah,
and so
I'm excited.
We should get our copies Wednesday.
Yes. And then Advent's here.
Well, I noticed too that we had gotten deep into the podcast and you hadn't mentioned Advent.
I know. So you set it up. Good job.
So I was this morning during my walk where I listened to him on Monday mornings because his sermons drop. They drop Sunday afternoon, but on my Monday morning walk, that's what I listened to. And when he did that, I was just smiling because I knew that you could be excited about that.
Advent is here.
Yeah. So, well, before Advent, we're going to have church this Sunday. We're looking forward to it. We'll get started in October. Wow, the last quarter of the year, a lot of good stuff happening here at First Baptist Sweetwater. We hope that you'll be a part of that. Invite someone to come with you. We'd love to meet see you and meet your friends. We'll see you this Sunday.
See you then.